Got choked up emotional, like cried about anything for like it was like 6 or 7 years. I feel like there was just this huge stretch where it was like I didn't have this like emotional thing. I was like numb emotionally, and then when Jetty got to be about just in the last 2 months, like a year and 9 months old, a year and 10 months old.
Yeah.
For some reason, dude,
everything she does,
I can sit in my tree stand and think about man, I'm gonna look back someday and I'm gonna miss this, and I'll get choked up because,
100%.
dude, you just love them so much, and it took a long time because they're so about mom forever, and you do the best that you can, but then you start to like build this incredibly deep connection, and like they're so damn cute,
dude. It is the most amazing thing. It's the most amazing thing in the world. It really is. Like, I'm like you. I mean, I can literally sit and think about things in a way. Hi, come here.
I mean, look at
this little one. But you can hang out with me for a while. But yeah, dude. And what sucks is like, okay, so I'll just tell you, like when our daughter was this age, I was the same way. Like, freezer right there. Freezer right. This is perfect.
Yeah.
They're so much fun, whatever. And then they get a little older, like, like your other girl over there, and you're like, okay, freeze them right here. Like, and then what I realized was, like, by the time she was 10 or 12 or whatever, I'm like, I wanted to freeze her at every age. Yeah. Like, there's always something cooler. And it doesn't make the previous one any, like, bad in any way.
Yeah.
It was just different.
Just it
was like a different little human, like, had different coolness. But like Brock, dude, I love Brock at 15. Brock at 15 is like a dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's a squared off. He's a buddy. And, like, he's so excited because, like, when we go hunting now, he's lugging all the shit, and he's doing all this stuff. Get in the frame here, Peanut. There you are. But at the same time, when he's like 5 years old, he's out there banging around on his little 50 quad, he was dragging a piece of chain link behind him, putting in the food plot, thinking he's like dragging rocks up out because he just wanted to do what the big boys are doing, Dude, you can't put a price on that. Like, it's crazy. And everything in between has been awesome too. And to people that, they say, oh, I don't want to have kids, whatever. I'm like, all right, man, you're just missing out on the literally greatest thing, greatest thing possible.
Such a blessing. And I could just freaking like actually feel like real emotion just thinking about my kids. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. It is freaking awesome.
I'm glad.
Wait till they start hunting with you. Dude, I'm telling you, so Hunter didn't hunt with me. She went with me every year. I don't know if I told you this or not. Every year, like, she would say, hey, I want to go hunting, but she'd say it like the week before the season. I'm like, honey, you can't. That's not fair to the deer. You got to work all summer. You got to put the time in, whatever. So prior to her, she was 9 first time, I think. She was 9 when she went out the first time. And we went out, sat in the stand. It's like one of those days, it's like it's colder than it should be because it's like 32 degrees, 33 degrees, but like a 15-mile-an-hour wind and raining. Like, it's just like this miserable – give me the cold over the wind any day. The wind just cuts me, right? And we get to like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, hey, we can go in and get some lunch. She's like, you said we're hunting all day. And I'm like, I'm cold. Like, I'm cold, But she's 9, so I'm going to hang, Well, like half hour before dark in this valley, here comes this buck. And I see this buck like 200 yards, 150, 200 yards up this wooded valley. I catch this movement. I'm like, man, there's a buck down there. It's rifle season, first day of rifle. And I'm like, what are the odds it comes out? And it's like on a string. And I'm like, oh, my God, this thing's going to come up here. She ends up shooting this thing at like 30 yards with a rifle. And it drops in its tracks. Like, it's real nice. It's down at Casey's camp. It's one of the ones up on the wall going up the steps, like this. It's a 7-point, but she was 9, and it's like 18 inches wide, real tall, like real nice buck, Now, especially for a 9-year-old, anything. But, dude, I scared her after the shot with my reaction. Because I lost my God-loving mind. I started hooting and hollering. She thought something went wrong. she thought something went wrong because I was screaming. Like, thought I got hurt somehow or whatever. I'm like, no, baby, I'm just the thing rolled right there. I lost my mind. And from that point on, dude, I was hooked.
It's so cool.
At that
Yeah.
point, I was like, I don't care if I ever hunt again. If I can take kids and experience this, my kids, my nieces, my nephews, somebody else's kids, like you meet a kid whose family doesn't hunt, but the kid wants to hunt, dude. It's they become like yours in a way instantly. I don't mean that like in a weird way. I mean just like you get a connection with that kid because you're
Right.
introducing them to something that they're
Yeah.
excited about and that
Yep.
they don't have anyone else in their life that can bring it to them. Dude, it's freaking awesome. So, I did want to tell you, yeah, you still got to dad up every now and again,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's just like when we have a bunch of customers in here right now, and then you have kids. Just I don't want to do that to my customers. Maybe they have kids.
they're all
with,
drinking wine. I don't think they care
maybe they
too
have
much.
kids at home, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is so nice to be out of." And then they're like, "Wait, no, I got to deal with someone else."
Well, we can pull them into the podcast here. The table behind you, I'll get them on here.
What'd you want to tell me?
So my buddy was hunting. I don't know if you've met. I think you've met Elijah yet. I think he's one of the guys I told you. So he's got a big thing coming up. Let's just say I'm going to tease this one a little bit. I hate to do that. I'm not big on the teasers, but Elijah's going to get on here. Shout out to Elijah, one of the best men I know. His life has been wild when you look back at where he's been, who he is now, all these things. But the dude is on a transplant list as a donor, and it looks like he's heading down that path. Like the dude just signed, like knew somebody, I think, and I'm going to get the details. We're going to do a podcast because he also killed a good buck, so it makes a nice story. Cover a couple things. But yeah, like it's looking like right now, like they got to double check some things, but he might be giving up one of his parts to save somebody else, which is freaking awesome.
Amazing.
But so there's this video I put up on the thicket the other day. I don't think I put it on the Instagram one. I only put it on the Twitter one. I need to upload it though. He's out with his buddy turkey hunting the other day, and there's this 9 or 10, real nice buck, like a 130 ish, 130, 35 maybe, and it's just standing there, and its head's like kind of drooped down a little bit. Now I put this video up, and these guys are like, "Oh, it was tangled up in that sapling." I'm like, in the history of the world, I don't know how many times a mature whitetail buck got like tangled in a sapling. Like that doesn't make sense to the point where it's like trapped. You know what I mean? Like tangled in the fence, I can see. They'll rip a sapling right out of the ground. I don't think you understand how strong these things are, right? So it's just standing there. And he walks like they're walking their turkey hunting, and he's got his crossbow with him in case a deer shows up. And he just like, guy's videoing it. And Elijah just like walks up like 20 yards or whatever it is beside this deer. It's just this big buck, just shoots it. And it jumps and takes a few steps. And then, of course, he hit it in the shoulder. So it falls over. And so we got to see what's going on with that. Now, he called the game commission, and they showed him the video. They're like, is it okay to eat this deer? We're not seeing any pus bags or anything. Not like it was shot, dying. Like it looked healthy. And they said, apparently they said, could have just been rutted out. Like it was so exhausted from rut that it's just literally will let you almost walk up to it, which is wild, super rare, but they might have got on video. Now, there's another explanation. We're still waiting to hear from the guy who's caping it. I don't want to give it away, but there's another explanation. It might be in play. It might have been something else going on, but yeah, they think it might have been just rotted out. So
I totally agree with that. I've seen these bucks so ridiculous, like 3 or 4 years ago, Ben and I were moving a stand, and I packed with the sticks together.
Yeah.
And was getting ready to wrap a strap, and this little buck ran into 10 feet and was staring at us and turned around and walked away. And Ben's like, hit those sticks to get, those aluminum quick sticks. And I hit him again, and he came back again.
Yeah.
It was just like he was so out of his mind. I don't know. I mean, some of these bucks are going for days and days.
Yeah.
And
I had one up at camp one time. I just think about this the other day because it's been so dry here. We've had our burn warnings and all that. Like we've actually got a Pennsylvania. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Look, I got dice. Look at these. You gambling? We're gonna play some Yahtzee. Oh, thank you. I'll take all of them.
More.
Man, little hands holding all 6. Oh, she just wants to come up.
Oh,
that's fine.
Jetty, you little
Jetty. But it's been so dry. I mean, we've got like burn warnings and all this stuff. I don't know if we got a Pennsylvania wildfire. Did you know that?
I saw big fires.
Crazy. I didn't even know anything about it, so I saw it on X.
Yeah,
because X has all the news now. But so I was thinking about this when I was walking through the woods the other day. It's so loud. I mean, it's just like you can't be quiet, right?
It's terrible.
But when I there was a year I was up at up in our camp in New Bethlehem, and I walked into this spot I'd never hunted before because when I was driving up in, I saw my target buck, and I saw him down over this hill, and there was an old ladder stand that was barely strapped in. So I took a strap with me, and I figured I'm going to climb up that thing and strap it back because it's strapped like it was. I didn't even know if the stand was safe, but I was just going to get up off the ground. As I get like 5 steps from this thing, here comes this buck over the hill, and he was 100% looking because he heard me walking. And that buck, you'll never be able to convince me other than I ended up not getting a shot at him because I froze. I didn't even have my bow in my hand because I was just like, I'm trying to get in the stand, right? That he heard me walking, thought I was a deer, and came to check me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
And you got to think, too, like, man, camo is getting so good, and we're wearing these camo patterns, and it's getting harder and harder for deer to see us.
Yeah.
And if the wind is good and you're dealing with a buck that, like, has been nonstop for a bunch of days and has been rut crazed or whatever, and like, you're hard to see and he can't smell you, then I totally believe that just a rutted up deer got walked up on and shot.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a quick little thing I'm going to throw in there. So I saw on Facebook the other day somebody shared a picture of Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Yeah.
And a pair of BDU camo, which is like the old classic, like big green and big brown spots or whatever. And it was a meme, and it said, Dale Earnhardt Jr. used to kill deer, and this camo, what are you doing spending thousands on Sitka? You know what? At that time, that was the best damn money. That was the best damn camo money to buy.
Right.
That was the innovative shit.
Right.
So don't sit here and try to tell me that Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Dale Earnhardt Sr. was like, he spent the best money on the best camo. If he would have had Sitka at the time, he would have bought Sitka. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So, like,
100%.
Don't post these memes and be like trying to bash people for spending money on like better camo patterns. Because somebody did it better. It's like that was the top of the line shit back then.
So I put a
oh, Jebba, don't touch that.
Oh, she's slamming the laptop around. You see us on there? Yeah. All right, you come back over here again, Peanut. So, I put a thing up the other day on TikTok, and I put it on Twitter too. I don't know if I put it on Instagram or not, about how to carbon infuse your hunting clothes. Right. Mm-hmm. So you just take pulverized carbon.
Yeah.
I put it in a big garbage can, and dunk my clean clothes in it, my hunting clothes in it, right? And then you don't wring it out. You just like kind of squeeze it out and let it dry. Now, when you wear it, you'll get carbon on you. Like your hands will be a little black, your skin will be a little bit black, right? Whatever. But so we're going to go down a little bit of a path here, but they use pulverized carbon like at sewage treatment plants to control the scent. But to control the scent.
Oh, Jetty, don't touch that.
Oh, you're all right. You're all right. So these guys come on instantly, and they're like, if you hunt the wind, none of this expensive garbage matters. I'm like, it costs you $4 a year to do this. Like, I'm not saying go out and buy a bunch of scent lock carbon stuff. I'm saying you can buy something at Walmart and carbon infuse it for $4. Yeah. Like everything you own for $4, not just one thing, right? The stuff is cheap as hell. I got a thing for $14 on Amazon that's going to last me and Brock 3 years, right? And we've had great luck with it. We really have, because then I throw briquettes. I throw charcoal briquettes in with our gear because it dries it out, keeps it dry, and it does absorb scent. There's no two ways about it. Now, guys will say baking soda. I used to use baking soda. Baking soda, I put another thing up about this. Baking soda does absorb scent, right? But it absorbs acidic scents only. Like it has a narrower band of scents that it absorbs, right? Now, all this to say, no one is saying don't hunt the wind. No one. No one is saying don't hunt the wind. You have to hunt the wind. There is no possible way to be scent free. But if you show me a place that has wind that goes in one direction, always one direction, and only one direction, and you know deer are never going to go through that direction, you've got a pretty damn good spot. Because the spots I've hunted my entire life have been the wind swirls a little bit. For a second, it kicks the other way. It might not stay that way, but I think all the deer are going to go this way, and then they climb up a friggin' high wall behind me that I never thought they'd go up or some shit. You know what I mean? Like it's. I'm not trying to be scent free because being scent free is impossible. Yeah. I'm trying to be, and I do subscribe to stand next to a campfire. If you stand next to a campfire and smoke your clothes, I've done that too, and the deer will smell it, but they won't realize it's human, and that's all that matters, right? You just got to get that enough that they're going to be confident enough.
Those out west guys that do that, I think it's great. I think you're pushing the envelope a little bit on the East Coast, just because we don't have a big, huge wildfire background, and maybe not every deer.
I've noticed that too. Like I have a lot of campfires at my house, so when I hunt behind my house, I can smoke my clothes. That
would be a smell that deer would smell occasionally, and not maybe directly tied to danger of humans.
But the other point on that is these guys that come on and they're like, "Oh, if you hunt the wind, none of this bullshit matters." Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, buddy. I'm sure you come back from Olive Garden or wherever you think is a fancy place, you know.
Well,
and just go straight out in your jeans and your t-shirt.
I've never once ever in my entire life commented on a Bow Hunters of America or a Pennsylvania hunting Facebook forum. I read all the comments, and there's a lot of times where we're like, man, I want to say something here, but I've never engaged because obviously there's guys out there that are so. Look, you never talk in ultimatums,
right?
And you have to be humble.
And there's never absolutes.
Yes, and you have to be humble enough to realize that you're never going to 100% figure these deer out, and you're never going to be better than they are.
That's right.
So, don't sit here and bash people online or say this isn't going to work or this absolutely is going to work. It's it was
funny to me because I'm trying to save people money.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I'm like, just if you want carbon effectiveness, which it's proven that it works. Now, do I believe that if you go buy a jacket that is carbon infused, but it hung next to it hung in a mall or it hung in a store next to a food court for 6 months before you bought it, I don't think the carbon that's in there has anything left. It's just a jacket that you're paying $300 for. So you want to go spend $40 for a jacket at Walmart? Here's a way to scent proof it. Just like using baking soda, it just happens to be, from what science says, better than baking soda, a little bit better. But again, it's like $4. I'm like, and if it doesn't work, what's the big deal?
I saw this video today, and it was this really slick, sling this guy invented. You attach it to maybe your belt loop.
Yeah.
And it's for quick sticks, so you're gonna get another 8 feet of height out of your standard set of 4 quick sticks or something. Really cool invention this guy made. And I saw this guy comment, and his comment was a whole paragraph long, and it started with 10% of the guys kill 90% of the bucks, and only
big bucks,
and only 1% of that 10% kill the big bucks, and the other 99% are wasting their time on dumb shit like this. And I'm reading, and I'm like, this guy thinks he's so good.
Yeah. Well, it's like the guy we talked about in the last episode, right?
I'm watching that, and I'm going to tell you right now.
I'm always lethal.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, whatever the percentages are, man, I consider myself one of the most hardcore bow hunters around.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows who you are around here.
I do stuff right. I hunt my ass off in everywhere, and I got a ton of time in the stand.
Yeah.
I watched that video, and I was like, that's great. I would use that. I'd get another couple feet. I think that's awesome. Who the hell needs to sit there and comment on there and say all these 10% and this and you and the 1% that does it right don't care about gimmicks. Like, what does that mean? You climb up in a ladder?
What cracks me up is I've killed a buck out of a 7-foot ladder stand. It was at 10 yards, nice buck. Had no idea it was there. Happens all the time.
They kill them in 15-foot ladder. But I tell you what, they kill them in 28-foot hang.
But here's the thing: I will tell you, when you get 28 foot and above, there is not a doubt in my mind that it changes the game. Yeah. If you can do it, you know who loved getting high was Pat Marin. He loved hunting up in the sky. Because sometimes you get to a certain point, they don't see you as a threat. They don't even look up there.
You can't do that in like a younger growth forest. Like
no. You have too many branches and all that. Yeah,
sometimes you got to pick your height so you can have the best shooting options.
That's right.
But
so here's another thing I wanted to bring up just real quick. I was sitting. I'm sitting there, waxing theological in the stand the other day, and I started thinking about the impact that social media has had. And here's a connection that I hadn't put together before, because we all know about the impact that social media has had on, everybody wants their moment of fame. They want to shoot that big buck and things like that. When I grew up, and I don't know if it was already ruined by the time you got there, but you got to hunt age and whatever, but we didn't have social media. So guys went hunting. Hunting was more about the experience and the camaraderie and the pursuit than trying to kill this specific buck that gets me my 5 minutes of fame on the social media platform. So then I started thinking about how that may have influenced the posting of land, right? Because like once hunting clout became a thing, you know what I mean? Once hunting clout became a thing, it's like a couple things happened. If you owned land and you had a big buck on it, you wanted to protect that because you wanted that clout. You wanted to get that big buck, so you had your 15 minutes in your local area of, you see the 12 point that Craig shot on his land, blah, blah, blah. The other thing that happened is the people who didn't own that land started getting less respectful, like not asking you, like, hey, do you mind if I hunt your property? They're coming on, they're sitting close to you. They're not asking permission, et cetera, because they want that buck. They've seen it on there. So the landowner naturally is like, well, screw you. I'm going to slam this land down and I'm going to post it because people are coming in. This is an old man comment, right? But there were simpler times. There were simpler times where guys hunted because they just wanted to be in the woods with their friends and with their dad or with their grandpa. Yeah. And that's what it was about. If you got a good one, that was great. And if you were a guy that wanted to pursue a good one, that was great.
Yeah.
But I feel like social media and the light that gets shown on these few big buck in an area has made people like almost tribal and like so protective of their like, this is mine. This is my land. I'm going to grow this big buck. I'm going to do this thing.
It's an impossible. It's an impossible problem, or whatever you want to call it. But
I don't think you can walk it back.
I think you're exactly right. And like if you were to be able to look back and track this stuff and look at the rise of social media, then you might find a lot of those things that you're expecting. But
I actually want to look at that, like a percentage of posted land.
Yeah.
Map to rise of social media to see if it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Could be great, but
at the end of the day, social media is garbage.
Yeah.
Like, it's been the worst thing for society in so many ways. And I think it actually, we always talk about how it impacts hunting. Like, guys just go for the kill shot and all this stuff, like the glorification of just that part of it, which is the worst part of hunting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I make a shot on a buck, I'm like, okay, now's when the work starts, and I don't get to see many more sunrises, so that kind of sucks. Like, it's the worst part of my season.
There's so many, podcasts and shows and stuff out there where guys debate this, but I'll give you an example, just real quick. Is last week, over the weekend, Ben and I, we had a big rain day.
Yeah.
Sunday on our lease in Ohio, so we drove around and we were just looking at properties and glassing for deer, and we pulled up on a beautiful big creek bottom farm, and I had OnX on the screen, and we clicked on it, and it was like a Betty Smith.
Yeah.
It was like an old lady that owned it, and she lived like 4 hours away, and it was like a 280 acre.
Yeah.
And out there, when it's the big ag and little field, 280 acres with 170 acres of woods would be equivalent to like 600 acres of timber here. Like that's massive.
Right.
So I called the number. Ben Googled the number. We found out. I called them. They called me back. We were so excited. We were looking for permission. And they said, we sublease this. You need to ask this guy. So I called this guy. That's a message. He immediately called me back. This guy tells me on the phone, he goes, oh, well, me and a bunch of guys used to lease it, and I'm the only one left, and I still get in there and hunt. And, so, yeah, I'm still hunting it. And so sorry. And I'm thinking, I'm like, you're one guy. You are one person that has permission to hunt this massive piece of land.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell two other people, all these people have dropped off and whatever.
Right.
So let's say you go in there on the opening week of October
and shoot
a buck. So the entire month of October, the entire rut in November, the entire 2 or 3 gun seasons they have out there, the entire lay season, on another single deer is going to be harvested off that entire piece of property. Because you're going to tell people no, because you're the only person out there.
You know what he's going to say.
That's detrimental to pretty much everything.
But what he's saying is, well, they'll be bigger for me next year.
Yeah, it's just that's like one guy on that much property saying no, didn't make sense. So.
Yeah. But. No, it's just a. I think it's shifted. It's just shifted everything. Everything's shifted a little bit away from, like honestly, when I first started hunting, I've been trying to think about this. Is what I spent my time in the stand this week doing. Right, is thinking back like when I was Brock's age. It's easy. He's 15 now, so it's easy for me to put myself back in his shoes. I just wanted a deer. I wanted to see deer. I wanted an encounter with a deer. I wasn't like, well, I hope I see a 140 incher today. I hope I see this. It was just about and I'll give Brock credit. Like he shot his buck. He's like, all right, Dad, now you let me know. I'm going out with you now. Like he's not going to just sit in. Yeah. Now, obviously, he's got basketball and everything ramping up. He doesn't have the time. But when he does have the time, he's going to throw his stuff on and come with me because it's not because he's out there to kill. He wants to go out and hang with me, And I put a thing up. I said this to Lee, too. I said, the day he shot his buck, he shot that at 6:10. It was right before the time shift. So he shot that thing at 6:10 in the afternoon or in the evening. And we got in there at, 5:45 in the morning. And I said, there's few things better than being strapped to a tree. You can't get more than 5 feet away from somebody, from your best friend. Like I'm out there with Brock. He's my best friend, right? Mm-hmm. And you're strapped to a tree. And you're chatting, and we're talking about everything. We're talking about funny stuff, serious stuff.
I do that too.
Life stuff, family stuff, girl stuff, relationship stuff, everything. Talking about everything. And to sit there and think, like, in a day now with these things, the idea of spending 14 hours with someone. Yeah, and you can't get more than 5 feet away from them. A lot of people will be like, "Oh my God, that sounds terrible." I'm like, "Dude, I can't wait. It's the freaking best."
I love it too.
It's the best.
Hunting with a buddy's great.
Yeah. So
awesome.
But I need to get a spot out there. I need to get Brock a spot out in Ohio too.
We're actively looking right now. We're losing our lease. Yep, and we're revamping.
Let's make that guy an offer he can't refuse. So he has a place by himself.
I think it's too far gone.
It didn't go well?
No, it's just an outfitter paid him a ridiculous amount per acre.
No. I mean the guy with the lower with the creek.
I'm going to stay on him. I'm going to see. I ran that.
Introduce him to Brock.
Yeah.
Sometimes a guy will like to get a young buck.
I'm going to ask again. We'll see what happens.
Tell him we got a 15-year-old that wants to put some work in, put some food plots in.
I wish it was that easy and people would say, but unfortunately, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think you could have the cutest kid in the world or a bunch of young dudes and guys would still be like,
yeah.
But we'll see.
So what else you got, man? What's your strategy the rest of the way out? Just seat time at this point.
I'm on stacks, and I'll try to kill him with a gun if I have to. But like I said, I've seen him use a specific trail to go into a specific bedding area, and I know he will do it again.
Yeah.
I just have to be there when he does. So this weekend you can hunt. It's one of the you can hunt Sundays in PA.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
And this Sunday is supposed to actually. I mean, I know it's rut, so they're going to do what they're going to do. But the the barometer, all the things, the cold front coming, everything on this Sunday is just lined up perfect.
Yeah.
As long as the weather stays good and it doesn't end up raining. The other thing I want to mention is I've done some raw dog hunting this year. I haven't raw dog hunted in a long time, which is our little, we call it the corn dictionary. Right?
Yeah, Well, raw dog hunting has the highest success rate of getting one.
Yeah.
You know?
Just slip in there and just be like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's here.
Yeah.
Well, getting one for a lot of reasons, right? Because you're like, well, you're not spoiled by the cameras and holding off. You're not skipping on, like you said earlier, you're skipping on a 130, 135 because you know there's a 170. When any other year, 135 would have walked by, you'd be like, hell yeah.
Yep.
And you smoke it down, right? But, dude, I've been loving it. Like, I'm sitting there in these spots. I have no cameras. I just look. I find a scrape line or I find a rod line or whatever, see some good activity, and I'm find a good acorn, find a bunch of good oaks, nice acorn stand, just set up and see what happens. And, dude, I've been skunked a couple times, but that one up at camp up in Parker, he walked out, and I was like, oh, he looks pretty good. And then he turned, I was like, oh, he's definitely good enough for me. He's definitely good enough for me. He was well outside his ears. And he had like he was heavy enough, like turn frame and everything. And I saw him, and when he raised his head, I was like, okay, all right. But I get excited when I see a buck that I know is there coming in because you're like, okay, I solved them. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's nice to solve that puzzle.
Yeah.
But there's a different kind of excitement to have no idea. You hear that crack and you see a flash of antler and you're like,
yeah,
is that going to be 110-inch eight?
That for me is what your out of state trips are for. Like whatever state you live in. If you live in Ohio, then you should be hunting a specific deer. And if you want to go get into these raw dog hunts, like get on the Iowa circuit, go hunt Iowa or do Illinois. Same thing with PA. Like it's just funner for me to have to put the whole puzzle together. I'm
doing both. I'm doing both in Pennsylvania. Like behind my house, I'm pretty much hunting that drop time. There's the double drop. Now, there's a high 10, and there's one that I called the high 8, and Brock kept yelling at me because it has no brows, so it's a 6.
Oh yeah.
But I think I've sent you a picture. He's only like, I'm gonna say 18 inches wide, but his G2s are probably a foot long.
Yeah.
Like he's super high, and his 3s are maybe 8 inches high. And he's only a 6 point. But honestly, if that 10, those are my 3 behind the house. I think about that 6 point pretty hard just because he's a 6, which is stupid. It's just the brows that are missing.
Right.
Other than that, like you see him going through the woods, you're going to be like, yeah,
right.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
But then when I go up to camp, I have no cameras. I have one set of cameras, sorry, but that's pretty much for Fisher and Bobcat stuff, like where it is. But so I'm doing both just in Pennsylvania. I've got deer that I'm hunting specific near my house. When I drive that 40 minutes up the camp, I'm hanging. I stood on the ground the other day. I was just like, Casey and I pulled a set of we pulled the climbing sticks off, pulled the ladder off of the one down there below the barn, down below the pond on that little flat. Like when you're driving down to camp, as soon as you hit the woods going into camp, off to your left, there's that little plateau there below the pond, like right directly below the barn. Anyway, there's a stand in there. And they always cut that corner. Like, I don't know why. It seems like kind of a weird spot. But they've killed so many bucks in there. And there's all scrapes and rubs. And it's one of those spots you look at, you're like, it doesn't make any sense, but they're always there, right? So I was all pumped to go sit in there the other day, and I walk in. And there's a hang on in there. And I walk up, I'm like, there's no steps to it. So I'm like, now what? So I'm just standing. I cleared a spot up under a pine tree, Ended up having a couple of deer within 10, 12 yards. So, didn't end up getting a shot. None of them were buck anyway. I think there was one behind him, but it didn't get that far because they ended up getting on the wrong side of me for wind. But anyway, again, it's like I'm able to get both of those sides of the hunt within a 40-minute drive. I've got my area that I'm hunting specific deer. And I got an area where I'm like, I have no idea what's going to walk out. And it was kind of cool because I was up there last night. They call it the best field. The best field is before you get to his old man's place on the left side there. Yeah, I'm back in there. And I just dropped down over the hill on that little shelf before you go down to River Hill. And I go back in there, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, this is wild. I could have a I could have a 130-incher walk in. I could have a bunch of scrubs, obviously, which I saw. But like you're sitting there going like, you could have a 180-inch deer walk in here that you have no idea is here. You have because nobody's hunting up there right now either. Like
Yeah.
you have no idea what's there, and there's an excitement there for me that I think is pretty cool. And that's what got me thinking about what it used to be like when I was like 14, 15, 16, just getting into hunting, still trying to figure everything out, still trying to figure everything out now. But we didn't have the cameras, we didn't have any of that stuff back then, and you just went and hunted sign, and you got excited when something came in, and and nobody cared about anything other than did you have a good time, and you showed off to a couple people that you knew, just you and your buddies, and nobody was looking for clout bigger than that. But yeah, I don't know. I just know Brock was so pumped when he put that arrow through that buck this year, dude. And the Conto deer dog,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Man,
I think
thing.
they got a good dog in that one. They
Oh boy.
he's been on some deer this year, so.
Well, that one of Brock's, that's Ethan had said. He said by far the hardest. I mean, the thing didn't bleed for the last 300 yards and was submerged completely in water. It had a circle
insane.
like a foot wide of its side sticking up out of that water, and it was frozen solid.
That's insane.
Like I'm trying to gut it, and like the fat was all hardened.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, am I knifed all? And here it's just like trying to get through that fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that dog was just because we kept thinking, and you're not trying to lead the dog; he's not leading it, but like everything's angling this way. Now I knew where it had come from, so I made sure I told Ethan, like, hey, that buck came from. He was bedded over here, so they'll loop back to where they knew it was safe. So I said he might have tried to loop back to where he knew it was safe. And we go down in there, and yeah, that freaking dog just kept pulling one way, and we're kind of like, hey, you gotta check up on this bank. He's like, no. And then another 50 yards up, he's like, hey, this is what I've been trying to show you people.
Yeah, I think just hitting his stride too. I think he's like a 2 or 3 year old, so
Yeah.
he'll have a bunch of good years ahead of him right now.
Yeah, it's wild. And Brock, of course, was, and like I said, I'll have him on the podcast too, just talk about his buck and that whole experience. But he mentioned to me, he's like, Dad, I'd like to get a dog and train it for that. And I said, well, that's fine, buddy, but you realize you don't get to hunt that. Like, you're gonna spend your whole
those
season
guys have a busy
chasing other people's deer
for sure.
Yeah.
So, they make decent money, but you got to really. It's like coon hunting guys.
Yeah.
They love the dog process of it so much that like they're just like these hardcore coon hunters, and it's not that they care about shooting raccoons, just they love the dog thing so much.
My bird dog and my father-in-law said the same thing. He's like, I could go with my bird dog and not take a gun. I just want to watch that dog work.
I think that's the thing with these blood trailing dog guys is like they love the dog in the process of that so much that they don't mind sacrificing the being in a tree part.
Yeah. So anyway. But yeah, man, what did you give me here? What is this?
That's an old vine Zinfandel.
I
think it's a 2017. We have some really old vintages here, so
I think I'm going to get one more splash of that before I go, and then call it a night. But
right on.
Yeah. So seat time from here on out. Like I said, I'm headed to Belize here in another week, so I won't be here for the beginning of rifle, but we'll stay in touch, I'm sure. We got you hunting this week at all? You able to get out?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason that I didn't hunt tonight is because I went down to a convention in Monroeville.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, Maddie has been just so amazing to me just to let me.
Yeah.
I mean, I like 125 hours or whatever it is right now. So I get off work around 1 o'clock. I'm in the stand.
Yeah.
Some mornings I'm in the stand till 8, and I come out of the stand, I run to work. And I've been taking a ton of vacation, so I've been just seat time like crazy, and running out of time here. But as we're moving out of this phase where we're peak number of does and estrus right now, every day from here on out, the number of does that are going to be in heat is going to drop, which means the bucks are going to move.
Yeah.
That'll be the
well, like I said, I told you guys, I think I've got 120 hours of PTO I have to burn or I lose it by the end of this year. So,
this late season
I'll bring a camera. Bring a camera. Come and sit and climb a tree. Kill some time. So,
right on.
All right, brother. Thanks for the wine. Thanks for the hospitality.
Thanks.
Do it again soon.
Thanks.
Later.